Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, I want to share a beautiful story with you. A story that carries a deep and timeless lesson. It takes place in a charming little village, nestled amongst rolling green fields. Imagine this. The air is fresh, the birds are singing, and the sun shines down on a community where everyone knows each other. In this village lived two good friends, a farmer named Salem and a blacksmith named Nader. Salem was the heart of the fields. From the moment the sun peeked over the horizon until it dipped back down, he was out there, tending to his crops. His hands were calloused from planting seeds, pulling weeds, and harvesting the fruits of his labor. He knew the soil like the back of his hand, and his days were a constant cycle of hard, physical work under the open sky. He'd carry heavy buckets of water and bags of soil, his body aching but his spirit content with the honest work. Just a stone's throw away was Nader's workshop. The rhythmic clang of his hammer striking hot metal was the village's heartbeat. Nader, the blacksmith, was a master of fire and steel. Surrounded by the intense heat of the forge and the loud, echoing sounds of his craft, he spent his days shaping tools, fixing plows, and creating things that made life in the village possible. His work required immense strength, precision, and an artist's touch. These two men were the best of friends, often sharing a meal or a conversation at the end of a long day.
But one evening, as they sat together, a little bit of weariness crept into Salem's voice.
He wiped the sweat from his brow and looked at his friend. Nader, he sighed. Sometimes I envy you. Your job seems so much simpler than mine. You get to stand in the shade of your workshop, just swinging a hammer. But me, I'm out in the blistering sun all day, my back breaking from carrying heavy loads and plowing the stubborn earth. Salem's words hung in the air for a moment. He didn't mean to be unkind, but his exhaustion was speaking for him. He truly believed his friend had the easier path. Have you ever felt that way? Have you ever looked at someone else's life or job and thought, wow, they have it so easy? It's a common human feeling to see the challenges in our own lives so clearly, while the struggles of others remain hidden from view. Nader, being a wise and patient man, didn't get offended. He simply listened to his friend and offered a gentle smile. He could see the genuine exhaustion in Salem's eyes. He replied calmly, his voice a gentle contrast to the loud noises of his workshop. "My dear friend Salem," he said, "I understand why you might feel that way. But every job, every path in life has its own unique effort and its own hidden struggles. It's easy to judge from the outside. The only way to truly understand is to walk in another person's shoes." This is a powerful piece of wisdom, isn't it? We so often make assumptions without having the full picture. Nader's calm response wasn't a challenge, but an invitation to see things from a different perspective. But Salem, feeling a bit proud and still convinced of his point, took it as a challenge. A spark of confidence flashed in his eyes. "All right then, Nader," he declared. "Let's do it. Let's switch jobs for a day. Tomorrow I'll be the blacksmith, and you can be the farmer. Then we'll see whose job is really easier." Nader's smile widened. He wasn't looking to prove his friend wrong, but he knew this experience would be more valuable than any words he could say. "A deal," he agreed, shaking Salem's hand. And so, the stage was set for a life-changing experiment. They had no idea what the next day had in store for them, but they were both about to learn a lesson they would never forget. The next morning, the sun rose, just as it always did, but the roles in the village were reversed. Salem, feeling a strange mix of excitement and arrogance, walked confidently to Nader's workshop. He looked at the forge, the anvil, and the heavy hammers. "How hard can this be?" he muttered to himself. He picked up a large hammer, feeling its unfamiliar weight in his hands. He tried to mimic the rhythm he'd heard 1,000 times, striking a piece of hot metal. Within just a few minutes, Salem realized his mistake. The heat from the forge was intense, far more than the gentle warmth of the sun. It was a suffocating, powerful heat that seemed to sap his strength. The hammer, which Nader wielded with such ease, felt clumsy and incredibly heavy. Each strike sent a jarring vibration up his arm. And the noise? It wasn't just a rhythmic clang. It was a deafening roar that echoed in the small space, making his head pound. After just 1 hour, Salem was drenched in sweat. His arms ached, his ears were ringing, and he felt completely and utterly exhausted. He had a newfound respect for the stamina and skill it took to be a blacksmith. Meanwhile, out in the open fields, Nader was facing his own set of challenges. He had always admired the green, orderly rows of Salem's crops from a distance. He thought a day in the fresh air would be a pleasant change. He picked up the heavy wooden plow and began the task of turning the soil. The sun, which he usually only felt through the door of his workshop, beat down on his back with an unrelenting intensity. The work was grueling. Plowing the land required a type of strength he wasn't used to. It was a slow, repetitive, and back-breaking task. His muscles, accustomed to the sharp, explosive movements of hammering, began to ache in a deep, unfamiliar way. He had to fetch water, his shoulders straining under the weight. He felt a sense of endlessness to the work, with the vast field stretching out before him. The quiet of the field, which he thought would be peaceful, was almost unsettling compared to the familiar sounds of his workshop. By midday, his back was in agony, and he was dehydrated and tired. As the sun finally began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, a familiar scene unfolded. 2 men, walking slowly and wearily, met in the middle of the village. It was Salem and Nader. They looked at each other, their faces covered in soot and dirt, their bodies aching. But instead of complaining or saying, "I told you so," they both broke into laughter. It was a laugh of shared understanding, of newfound empathy. They didn't even need to say much. They looked at each other, and in that moment, they understood. Salem finally spoke, his voice filled with humility. "Nader, my friend, I had no idea." Nader, rubbing his sore back, nodded in agreement. "And I had no idea." Salem. Together, almost in unison, they said, "Now we know. Every job is hard in its own way. There is no easy work." What a powerful realization. They had both been so sure of their own perspective, but a single day of walking in each other's shoes completely changed their worldview. It wasn't about who had it harder. It was about acknowledging that all honest work has value and demands effort. From that day forward, their friendship deepened. They developed a profound respect for each other's craft. Salem would often stop by the workshop, no longer to complain, but to admire Nader's skill. And Nader would often lend a hand in the fields, knowing firsthand the effort it required. They helped each other, supported each other, and their bond became a symbol of unity and respect in the village. This simple story holds such a profound message for all of us today. How often do we dismiss the work of others, whether it's a teacher, a cleaner, a software developer, or a stay-at-home parent, simply because we don't understand the challenges they face? Every single person is fighting a battle we know nothing about. Every job has its own unique pressures, stresses, and demands. This story is a beautiful reminder to approach others with curiosity and empathy, not judgment. Before we assume someone has it easy, let us remember Salem and Nader and the powerful lesson they learned under the hot sun and by the fiery forge. True respect comes from understanding, and understanding comes from a willingness to see the world from another's point of view. Thank you so much for joining me for this story today. I hope it gave you something to think about. What are your thoughts on this? Have you ever had an experience that changed your perspective on someone else's work or life? Share your stories in the comments below. I would absolutely love to read them. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel for more stories and reflections. Your support means the world to us. Until next time, take care and be kind to one another.